Hello everyone, welcome back to another brand new video. In this video we'll go through one of the most tense and serious situations in Ukraine at the moment, and it's the Battle of Bakhmut. We'll try to dive into the chronological aspects regarding the city and the key events based in the city. Also, I'll try to tell the story of the people previously living in the frontline city and try to figure out what would happen in the next few days. So, Bakhmut has become well known because it's one of the biggest hotspots in Ukraine at the moment, as artillery shells are constantly hitting the almost destroyed city. Despite the constant attacks, the Ukrainian military maintains its defense and repels the attacks in literally urban battles. The Russian forces have been laying the biggest efforts for many months in order to advance on the city. Now the situation in Bakhmut has reached the highest level of tension. The Russian invaders are positioned on the flanks, so the enemies try to close the ring around the city. That means completely get the city surrounded if their operation would be successful. Let's take a look at what happened only in the year 2022, when the Russian invasion happened relatively recently and the Russian forces succeeded in taking two major cities, Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. The fighting for Bakhmut began in May 2022 when the fighters of Wagner Group and other divisions of the Russian forces were able to break through the Ukrainian defenses in Popasna, which is 25 kilometers east to the city, and advance further west. Then the Ukrainian forces retreated from Svitlodarsk, which the Ukrainians have held since 2015. In recent months, the Russians have been concentrating their efforts on cutting off supply routes for the Ukrainian garrison in the city of Bakhmut. Thus, at the beginning of the summer of last year, the front line actually aligned to the outskirts of the city. So now let's react to a video, or I would rather say it's like a correspondence to the documentary because it's 50 minutes long and it's taken in Bakhmut itself, so that's what's cool about this thing. Okay, so here we have Bakhmut, present and history, the video, so let's begin. Хащі. It's like a specific channel name that I haven't actually heard before, but here it is.
Ну тоді супер, кайф. Тільки дивіться обережно, бо ми зараз їздили в центральну частину, теж там так криють шухана.
Да тут криють всюди, криють, це зрозуміло, так.
Все, тоді на зв'язку.
Екватор зими, ми зараз знаходимося в найгарячішій точці на планеті. Це Бахмутська агломерація, де відбуваються запекліші бої за Донбас, історичні запеклі бої. На вулиці зима, але тут настільки спекотно, настільки гучно, настільки страшно, що це важко передати словами. І краще не затримуватись на одному місці, а постійно пересуватись і рухатись, тому що ви чуєте, що тут відбувається. Отак.
Yeah, so I actually agree with what this guy said, and actually nice choice of words. So the Battle for Bakhmut is itself a historical moment. I'm really surprised that you could hear this shelling so loud and clear, and you could hear it raining down on you in Bakhmut, in the city, in the central city. As we could hear over the walkie-talkie, somebody was talking to this guy, whoever that was, a teammate or his military guide. Like said to him that don't go in the central part of the city, we have just been there and there's way too much shooting. There at the end you could see that the guy was actually scared because it sounded like that shelling hit right near him. So the atmosphere is very quiet and cold. As you can see, there's a lot of snow and it gives such a Donbass vibe, you know, in Ukraine. In that part of Ukraine.
Вы должны ему просто помогать, потому что вы гуманитарная миссия, правильно? Вот мое такое мнение. А какие у кого взгляды? Я их вообще не спрашиваю уже давным-давно, почему они не выезжают. Я знаю, что там сейчас 80% нормальных, адекватных людей, я имею в виду, нет ждунов. Да. Вот понимаешь, потому что все уже видят, что происходит, что Россия их бомбит и что Россия их лишила свободы, жилья, жизни, каких-либо... Простите. Алло? Ну то добре, мы в Бахмуте уже почти.
So as we see this perspective from this car driving to the zone of Bakhmut, you can see like from the car window that the military jeeps and trucks are driving by, and I'm really interested to hear which way they're taking, because there are currently only two roads available that are leading into Bakhmut directly. So why only two roads available? Well, because the rest of the roads are currently occupied by the Russian forces. So the fact that they actually speak Russian in the car is a major proof of that Russian language isn't actually suppressed in Ukraine, and maybe you cannot speak it so freely because of the war, of course, So when she refers to the 80% of people who are adequate, they're adequate. I'm not sure if that's the right meaning for the word, if translated literally from Russian to English. So it's a big question, why the people don't just leave from Bakhmut? Because the 95% of the people who were living in Bakhmut previously, actually left the city. So now the 5% remaining, it's not much, but I really hope for them to leave, in my opinion.
Здесь, вот там уже тоже фронт с правой стороны. Вот здесь тоже уже фронт. Трасса простреливается. Вот это прилит.
Did you see that?
Вот вам Бахмут.
Okay, so I hope you got yourself a slight introduction in how the situation is like in Bakhmut. And around Bakhmut also is in this situation, as the front line is in Donbass, it's going through Donbass. So actually let me show you that on the map, because that'll be a lot easier to understand where Bakhmut is on the map. I haven't actually showed you where Bakhmut is, so we need to go on a website called liveummap.com. So now you can see Ukraine in all its glory. So while I don't have time right now to give you a full introduction of this map, I will give you a shorter one. So as you can see, all this territory marked with the red color, this is the temporarily occupied parts of Ukraine. So if we try to zoom into Donbass a little bit, we can see some red dots appearing here, and those are shellings and attacks conducted by the Russians. So Ukraine is big, right? The question is, how do we find Bakhmut? So I would say it's pretty easy to find Bakhmut on the map, because on this kind of map, of course, because Bakhmut is on the front line in Donbass. It's almost encircled by the Russian forces, and you can see there's 2 roads out of Bakhmut currently that are in control of the Ukrainians. You know, if the city gets surrounded, nobody can get out, and Russians know that and want to use that against the Ukrainian people and against the Ukrainian forces. So recently Ukraine has made the choice to not withdraw their troops from Bakhmut city, but instead they try to hold the city and try to withstand the Russian attacks. So now let's react to President Zelenskyy's speech, in which he said what is needed to hold on to Bakhmut.
To stop Russia, we need artillery. That's the #1 issue. We also need weapon systems, ammunition, and a lot of shells. The same with aircraft. We have a shortage of aircraft.
Фактично саме тема Бахмута стала основною для цієї ставки. Сьогодні на ставці я прямо поставив питання і командувачу Хортиці генералу Сирському, і главкому Залужному про те, якою вони бачать далі оборонну операцію на Бахмутському напрямку. Чи відійти, чи продовжувати оборону і посилюватися в місті. Обидва генерали відповіли не відходити і посилюватись. Ця позиція була одноголосно підтримана ставкою.
Very recently, 2 days ago, Zelenskyy visited a frontline city near Bakhmut. I think as a president, it would be too dangerous to visit Bakhmut itself. 1 month ago, you could still visit Bakhmut without being psychologically damaged at least. And right now, it's impossible because the whole thing, the whole road, is a shooting range.